I think I had a lighter in my pocket already. Don't know where my other lighter went. Either way, failure. Failure is a part of life. You cannot succeed without failure. You cannot fail without success, if that makes sense. To me, you cannot succeed without failure makes more sense, but success is honestly, I believe everybody's successful in their own way. People have been taught the wrong way of what success really is in society. The way that society was built was to put this idea in your head that success is about being rich, and that's it. Just rich. Success is more than just riches and a dollar bill. Success is about what you overcome. Through your failures. Therefore, success cannot come without failure. People who have succeeded in life and who are people who are very successful and who have exceeded and excelled in everything they've done in life don't just hop out the womb and automatically become successful. There's always a struggle. There's always rock bottom. There's always a failure. Something that they did that they wish they would have done differently. But in reality, we need to accept the things that we've done in order to succeed. Failure is our greatest teacher ever. And I mean that literally. Out of any subject or anything in the world, the greatest teacher and mentor we have is failure. Because if you didn't have failure, you wouldn't learn from the faults and mishaps and all that stuff to become successful. Because, like I said, you don't just come out the womb a millionaire. You go through trials and tribulations, you fail. Everybody goes through stuff in this life. And people act like it's not normal. I don't sit here and question, why do I fail so much? I understand that it's normal. And I've become quite acquainted with the thought that I've gotten used to accepting that I've failed a lot. And one thing that I will say is that I make pretty good music. I actually had this song in my Google Drive or whatever. It was a song that I made with a buddy back in 2016, and let's just say, I'm way better than I was before at music, making music. I've gotten a lot better. It's because I perfected my craft. I stuck with it. You see, I thought I was good, But that's the thing. I thought I was good. It's a mindset. Looking back at it now, I was not really that good. But that's not a bad thing, because back then, I had that mindset that I was already good. And so, with that, I've always actually naturally thought I was good at music, but I have failed. There is a difference between actual failures, and knowing you'll make it. Like, you fail, but you know you'll make it. That's how it was back then. Like, I knew that I wasn't doing things right, but I still had that confidence, and that confidence went a long ways. See, even if you don't sound good to other people, and you believe it yourself that you are actually still pretty good at what you do, in reality, you're not doing the best that you can, but you have that mindset that I'm doing good, and that I believe in myself, you will improve, literally. And I've made a lot of success, not financially, but just me as a person and making music over the years, because I stuck with it, and I wasn't as good like I am now. Failure is our greatest teacher. And failure will teach us that when you fail, failure is all a test to see if you get back up on the horse. If you fall off the horse, you have a life choice that will affect you like a rippling effect in the future. If you fall off that horse, you can either decide to give up, or you can get back on it. And hey, you might decide, like for me, for instance, I've done both, but I've fallen off the horse, and I decided I didn't want to get back on right away. But then later down the road, I did get back on. And I've also fell off the horse and got right back on. I've never once in my life fallen off a horse and never gotten back on. But what does that say? It says that failure teaches you and determines whether your ambition is there, whether your drive is there, whether your confidence is there, whether you still got it in you to keep pursuing that dream. Because failure determines your purpose. Failure determines... See, if you fail at something and you never go back to it, it's just not meant to be. But if you fail at something and you don't go back to it, but later down the road you decide to go back to it, it's maybe because you needed a break to clear your head, clear your thoughts, and then come back to a better person. And that's when you improve, is when you clear your head, you take some time, and then you come back to it. That's actually a smarter way of handling things. So sometimes, yes, falling off the horse and not returning to that horse for a week or a month, and then hopping back on it in a week or a month, can improve your skills and ambition and your mental stability, mental health, mental motivation, any kind of motivation, but it can improve that. People say that failure is a bad thing. That is the biggest thing in this world that people talk about is failure being a bad thing. They only say it's a bad thing because the way that it makes them feel. There's two reasons. It makes them feel like shit knowing that they can do better, or it makes them feel like shit because they're not impressing the people they want to impress. And I have two questions. The first one is, do you really want to impress people other than yourself? Because if you want to impress people, like intentionally, and you're doing it for them, you're not being humble. That is not humble. And there's a lot of people out there, and then those same people will talk about being humble, but they can't grasp what being humble really is. There's a lot of lack of knowledge in this world, and a lot of common sense. There's a lot of comprehension going straight over people's heads, and they don't understand that failure is a sort of silent treatment for you. Because whenever we fail, we're sort of quiet about it. And then we talk about it a little bit later on and we get depressed about it. But that's another thing. See, nothing is bad. You fail, you get depressed. Embrace those emotions and express those emotions. Let yourself feel those emotions, but it's not a bad thing. Because this is another thing. Failing at human connections. Well, if you fail at making human connections, it's probably because you don't allow yourself to feel certain emotions or any emotion at all. So you're failing at those connections. But if you're failing at those connections, you can turn that failure into success by letting those emotions hit you. And if it actually hits you that you failed at making a connection, you have a heart. And I will say that my ambition, my drive has been a lot more. Let me just say something real quick. It's off topic. A lot of people will get confidence and not being humble confused. Confidence is when you say things by being your true self. And people will take that as being cocky, not being humble. But they take it that way because they aren't humble, they aren't confident. That's why people get offended when someone is showing who they are. People don't get offended when people are actually cocky or not being humble, because they know deep down, their intuition knows that how they're acting is not how they want to be. How they're acting is not a role model. So they're not really offended by their persona because that person doesn't have power over them with confidence. Because, see, and that's another thing, all that ties together with ignorance is bliss. And see, people praise ignorant people, but when they see a confident, knowledgeable, humble person, they get offended because they're not that person. But they want to be somebody who's ignorant and stupid and lack of self-respect and lack of empathy or whatever, dignity. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, the dignity part, for other people. Because their role models are celebrities, ignorant people. who just want to distract you from yourself, make you feel less of yourself. But sometimes you have to feel shitty to get better, which is failure equals success, which is what this live is all about. Let's see, what else? I'm gonna light up this cigarette, but failure actually brings out your true light. Failure shows you who you are. Like I said earlier, failure determines whether you're going to pursue that same dream after you fail once, twice, 3 times, 100 times. It determines whether that's your calling. Therefore, it determines whether or not you have the mental capacity to handle certain things that is ahead of you. Failure is also a lesson and a teacher for life obstacles, because if you opt out of life and you end your life because of failure, it only makes it harder in your next life. But you gotta break the cycle some point. Eventually your soul is gonna get tired of giving up, because your soul remembers everything, but the conscious mind has to remember everything all over again. But your soul and your spirit and your intuition is always there. It always will have that knowledge and remember of your past lives and your past experiences of your journeys of giving up or pursuing your dreams. Eventually you're going to get tired of not making it. And honestly, I believe making it is being in the present moment. But you're going to get tired of giving up eventually, and you're going to hit rock bottom, and you're going to realize that because once you hit rock bottom, you start to rise again from there. There's nothing below rock bottom. They call it rock bottom for a reason. Like, what's the next word? What's below rock bottom? Nothing. But failure is rock bottom, and I've been at rock bottom. I'm rising at this point. Now my physical health, on the other hand, isn't so good. That is hitting rock bottom right now. Unless I make that decision and I break the cycle before I have to hit rock bottom in that area, you know. So, like, I have been pursuing things, and I'm not thinking about failure or success. I'm thinking about my dream. I'm thinking about my ambitions, goals. I'm not thinking about success. I'm not thinking about failures. Either one. If it happens, it happens, you know. It's gonna happen. But I recently started to think about my future. And I honestly I do artwork. I'm really good at art. And that's another thing about failure is I've been drawing since I was like, I want to say 6, 7, 8. And of course, as an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, the drawings aren't magnificent, but they are heartfelt. As a 6-year-old, the 6-year-old mind is a mystery, and it's very beautiful. Being a 6-year-old and having that creativity so young says a lot about your whole yourself as a person, as your spiritual growth and your connectivity to the universe. It says a lot because as a kid I was like 6 or 7 or 8. I know I was 8 at least, or 7, but I think I was 6 when I started writing stories about little stuff. Like I made a story about a peach. And then I had a thing about making children's books. But what I'm saying is that even in that perspective, in that little area of talents and hobbies, I've improved a lot. I used to draw. I got better over the years because I kept pursuing it even though I failed. And even as a kid, I didn't see myself as a failure. I never saw myself as a failure. I only started to see myself as a failure when I started to request people's approval. Because when you become a people pleaser and you try to request for people's approval, and you expect their approval for the things that you are doing, for the things that you've done, you start to lose yourself. You start to lose your inner creativity. You start to lose your touch and your focus on your objective and your ambitions and dreams, because your focus is now on how they feel, not how you feel. Your focus is now on them, not you. It's now comparing yourself, not accepting yourself. And all this shit is deep. Like, all this stuff is deep. And all this has to do with failure equals success, or determines whether you are a failure, which I don't believe anybody's a failure. But I believe that we make mistakes, and mistakes are okay, because if you make a mistake, like if I draw something and I make a mistake, you have two options. You can either turn that mistake into something beautiful, like you draw a scribbly line, turn that scribbly line into some beautiful art, or you can be like, okay, well, I could have done this, so maybe I'll just take what I did and reform it into something else. So take that failure and turn it into success by using it as fuel and knowledge. Like, acquiring knowledge from that failure goes a long way whenever you really care about yourself and your purpose. And the things that you enjoy on a daily basis really says a lot about you. Like, somebody who enjoys having a lot of sex with beautiful women is a person that does not respect themselves. It's a person who craves sex and acts on it all the time is someone who does not have self-control. And if you do not have self-control, the work of art may not be your thing. because you need self-control in pretty much everything, every aspect of life, in order to be spiritually healthy and connected. Self-control with physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, yeah. 25-minute video, but I think we did pretty good. I think I'm gonna play some Dead by Daylight on Xbox. I might make some music later. I might write some lyrics. I might draw. I've been tapping into this creativity thing a lot more, and when you tap into your creativity, your mind is busy, and it's healthy because you're expressing yourself with creativity. And when you express yourself in a world where they shame expressing yourself, you've literally broken the cycle. Because in this world, they don't want you to be comfortable in your own skin. They don't want you to express yourself. You can't really express yourself without being judged or ignored. So sometimes you just got to accept that you're talking to yourself. And once you accept that you're talking to yourself and that you're the only one in the room, you attract people, and now they can listen to you because you are more attractive, and you become a role model because you are not expecting things, but you are letting things be, as say. Thank you guys for watching. This is Humbled Wisdom on YouTube and Facebook. I will see you guys in the next video.